On our Super Bowl show, we've got beef short ribs, we've got pork belly, we've got lamb shank, we've got chicken wings, we've got smoked corn, and to finish it off, we've got a wet coleslaw. First of all, we're going to score up our pork belly, put on some Smoky Joe's loaded salt, and pop it in the fridge overnight. Welcome to our Super Bowl edition. We've got some fantastic food coming up for you. To start off with, we've got our beef shorties. We need to put these on nice and early, so we're going to put these on the night before. So we've got our meat here from Meats on Mitchell. What we're going to do here is we're going to trim off some of this fat. Now what we're looking for is that hard fat, okay? So if we can get rid of some of that hard fat, the rest of the fat will render down. We're just trying to get rid of those hard bits there, and then we'll season it up and put it onto the smoker. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the silver skin. What we want to do is we want to get underneath here. If you find yourself having a bit of trouble getting the silver skin off, okay, a little bit of paper towel will help you with the big grip. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to season it up. For our beef shorties today, we're going to use a pepper steak from Smoky Joe's Rubs. And to complement that, we're going to put some SPG on as well. When you're sprinkling, try and do it from a bit of a height, and that way it gets a nice even coating. All right, and then just a little bit of SPG over the top. All right, now we'll whack those in the smoker. They'll take about 8 to 10 hours, and we'll monitor that with the temperature. We'll put a meter probe in, and off we go. All right, so we're back. Our beef shorties are on the grill. What we're going to do now is we're going to do our pork belly. It's been sitting in the fridge overnight. Putting on our tiger gloves. All right, so what we want to do is we want to take off that salt now. We've had a chance to dry out. What we're going to do is we're going to score this up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab Smoky Joe's Honey Hog. Goes really well with the pork. So again, we're going to give that a nice sprinkle over. All right, we want to try and get that into the grooves. What we want to do is make sure that we don't get any on the skin side. So what we're going to do here is we're going to flip that over. We're going to put a fresh layer of salt, put that onto the smoker, and should be ready at the same time as the ribs are. So we've got our loaded salt here, which is a smoked loaded salt. I'm going to put a fresh layer of salt on. All right, pat that in. All right, we want that to get into those score marks. All right, and that'll help that crackling. Next up for our Super Bowl special, we've got a lamb shank. Right, and we're going to season that with our Outback rub. make sure you give that a nice good coating. And next up we've got our lamb shank. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop our meter probe in. So after we've seasoned that up, we're going to pop that onto the smoker. So got our beef shorties, our pork belly coming along nicely, and our lamb shank has just gone on. So that's the start of our Super Bowl. Let's see how we go. Alright, so while we're going, we'll give these a bit of a spritz. Just a handy tip here, we've got our Z grill sitting in the sunlight, so because it's on wheels, we're just going to move it over into the shade. Alright, and that'll help regulate your temperature. For the next part of our Super Bowl show, we're going to do some smoked corn, and of course you can't have Super Bowl without chicken wings. So let's get into our smoked corn and then we'll do the chicken wings. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the husk. Alright, so we get that nice juice there, and we're just going to chop these into half, very nice bite-sized pieces. Alright, so we'll throw our corn on. Next part, we're going to do our chicken wings. We've done these before on the show. Obviously, we don't want this part. Okay, not good eating. All right, and then with the chicken wings, we just go straight down that part of the bone. Leaves a nice cut, and we just repeat. Just remember, however many you need for this Super Bowl party. We've only got a few people over, so we're only going to do a few wings. So for the next part, we're going to put our seasoning on. We're going to go with the lemon pepper, just to give it a nice flavouring. So Smoky Joe's Rubs, lemon pepper chicken. So absorb all of that flavours, and onto there. Go put those on the smoker. So our beef ribs have stalled, so we're not quite rising to temperature. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap them in foil, and while we're going, we're also going to wrap the lamb shank. Keep that moisture in, and let that finish off the cook as well. So let's start with the lamb shank. Pop that on there. Now, always double wrap to make sure that that foil is all the way around. Gives it a nice tight finish. I'll throw that back onto the smoker. I'll throw out one of those beef ribs. As you can see there, nice and juicy. Got a really good bark on it. The next one's got our meter probe in it, so as you can see there. So what we need to do with this one is, while we're wrapping, we just need to make sure that that meter probe is still on the outside. All right, and this is the reason why we double wrap, is because here you can see where the bones actually start to come through. All right, so that's where the second layer, need to be really careful to make sure that we seal that part. Again, remember, keeping that meter probe out. Now, very simply, we're going to make a coleslaw. So we've got a coleslaw mix here. If you don't have the mix, very easy. You can chop up some carrots, some cabbage, and sort of mix that in together. And we've got our coleslaw dressing. To mix our coleslaw, we're going to get our tiger gloves. Now we're going to mix that around. We want a nice wet slaw. We're going to pop that into the fridge, and we've also got a nice garden salad to go with our Super Bowl special. So the beef shorties have reached temperature. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take them off and rest them. What we've got here is a towel that is specifically for the meat. So we continually use this only for the meat. We're going to put this out, and we're going to wrap up our beef shorties and let them rest for about an hour. Alright, so we've got our beef shorties off. Now wrap these up nice and tight. Alright, these will go into the esky where they'll rest for about an hour, and then we'll be ready to cut them open. So the pork meat has actually got to temperature, but we haven't quite got that crackling right. So we're going to try something we've never done, haven't even seen it on the internet. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a couple of pieces of foil, right, and create a little boat. So we're just going to roll these up like this. All four sides. So what we should have here is a nice little vessel for our pork to sit in. Add some butter into the bottom of that, right, which will create the oil that we need to try and get that crackling up. As I said, you can see here, not quite hard. So we're going to pop that down there like that and pop this back over the direct heat. Now we've got, on the Z grill, you've got an area where you've got holes to come through. Right, what we've done is we've pushed holes through the foil so that the heat comes through. And we're going to pop these back over, directly over that heat. So that butter or oil will actually help the process of the crackling. See how we go? Rightio, all our food is to temperature now, so what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting it up. We've got our beef shorties, they've been resting for about an hour, so we're going to take those out and see how they look. So we can take out our meter probe now. Open these up. So we're going to cut through our beef shorties. And here they are. The juices and that. Alright, so we'll serve those up. So they've come up really nice, so we'll get those onto the platter and we'll go from there. Nice and juicy. We'll plate these up. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of the food off except for the pork belly. It's going to come off last, and then we'll be right to serve. So what we've got here is we've got our chicken wings and our corn, and then we're just going to unwrap our beef shank. As you can see here, the beef shank is just falling apart. Right, and that's what you want. That nice pulled beef. Right, it is very hot, but the bone will come out nice and clean. Right, so just like that. Alright, we'll grab out our pork belly in a minute and we should be right to go. So I've got our pork belly now, we've left that on for another 10 minutes, turn the heat up a bit to see if we can get that crackling on top. Now, I'm using a heat-proof glove because that is very hot. We did get the temperature there up to about 180 degrees. So let's see how we went. So I've got our pork belly off. Let's see how we went with the crackling. Listen to that. Absolutely beautiful. Alright, so we've got that crunch there, which is exactly what we're after. I'm going to flip that back over. Cut that through. Right, so here we have some nice crunchy pork belly. Here we are, ready for the Super Bowl. We've got all our food ready. We've got our pork belly, we've got our lamb shank, we've got our beef ribs, we've got our coleslaw and our corn. Just in time for Post Malone to do his thing. And that brings us to the end of our Super Bowl show. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. And now you can sit back and watch the Super Bowl and go 49ers. Let's hope we have a happy ending.